If you've been wondering how to work on your branding, how to do story branding perhaps for your business, if you want to understand how to do B2B branding for your business, and perhaps you're running a low cost revenue model or an operational model, and you want to understand how to go about mastering branding, what is authentic branding really, then you're going to get all those answers in this podcast episode. Welcome to Luxury Unplugged Podcast that takes you beyond the surface of success, dives into the mindset, values, and inner clarity that creates a truly meaningful life. In today's episode, we are joined by Rich Kozak, a global impact branding expert and founder of Rich Brands. With decades of experience helping entrepreneurs and thought leaders articulating his authentic brand voice, he brings in a powerful perspective on aligning purpose with business. And he also has a message on clarity about amplifying your impact in the world. So today's episode is not just about branding, it's about uncovering the essence of who you really are. Welcome, Rich. Welcome to Luxury Unplugged.
Well, it's great to be here, Neeti. And you're right. People are going to hear some things they've never heard. So get a pen or whatever you use to write, and you're going to write a few these things down. And it could very well bless your business
Mhm.
and your life. I love what you say about a fulfilling life. That's really where we get to start.
Right. Beautiful. So, Rich, you've been called rocket fuel for people who want their brand to truly impact lives. Now, how did your journey into branding really begin? What inspired you?
Well, okay, first of all, we did need to deal with that rocket fuel thing. It's because branding is a process. Rocket fuel means you get to go faster sooner, you get a boost. When you realize there are steps and you do them, your results happen more quickly and more dependably. So I teach that branding done right, it's steps. You don't leave any out. And if you do the wrong steps, you'll hurt yourself. But people aren't taught that. They're just taught that they need branding. So how did the question was my journey.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Woo. As a branding consultant, the biggest parts of my journey, I spent 17 and a half years as the executive vice president of let's call it an integrated marketing communications firm, okay, all B2B, but it was a member of a partnership worldwide. So I had partners in 21 countries. I sat on global brand teams, and we trained on the process of eliciting the brand from the people who founded their brands because they wanted to move from wherever country they were in to other countries. And you got to make sure that the brand stays congruent when you do that. So it was an absolute hoot. I mean, frankly, I was addicted to it. I would come. I live in Los Angeles and I work here, but the partners were all over the world. So when I was 50 years old, which was 23 years ago, I was doing all nighters, and I would come. I would stay at the office forever. Come home. European partners, email and get up early or not even, go to bed because I stayed up all night at the agency. It was ridiculous. And so a big part of the journey was my choice to say, Lord, I'm resigning this addictive career
Hmm.
to reshape my life. Show me what you want me to do. I'm ready. And begin asking for me to hear and pay attention to what God's intentions for me were. And so a lot of people, because I've done branding for so long, I started when I was in 13, 14, 15. I created companies and named them of my own. And then it's a long story. I got a degree in marketing international business, but I did play in a rock band for a few years. I worked for a Fortune 50 company for 7 years. So I learned what that was all about. I had a great mentor there. So I've been in a whole bunch of different socioeconomic business strata kind of situations, chunks in my career. Worked for a research firm for a few years, called on research managers. I even because I was so active in the American Marketing Association here in Southern California, I got elected as president, and then I was elected on the national board of the American Marketing Association. So I even spent 4 years there with some mighty outstanding people in marketing. So, you and I have a lot of commonality. So part of the journey is learning that marketing is not branding.
Right.
Marketing is execution of branding. So if
Beautiful.
you're listening to this, one of those things you're going to write down right now is my marketing, when it's at its best, is the execution of an excellent branding strategy.
Right.
You've got to get that right. Okay. Now, I really, I think that's enough of journey. It's like after people started asking me to help them with their individual brands, and I agreed to help 3.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of all came 1 month at a time, 3 months in a row. I had this moment where I realized what I was doing was helping pull the impacts that they clearly saw making when they were going to thrive. And we defined the brand they must become to make those impacts.
Right.
When you do it that way and use the steps in the process, you don't leave anything out. It's rigorous. It gets done. And I'm going to hold my hand. Everything your brand says and does aligns with those impacts. Neeti, when you do that, people feel the clarity. They feel the authenticity, because it all came from the desires you had to impact. That's in your heart. My belief is God put that in your heart, so this is God's work. So wait a minute, when does branding become God's work? Well, now there's a good question. So here we are on your podcast talking about we all have the opportunity, because we've been made by the same God, to make the most significant impacts we can on the world we touch. We need to get on with it. If we start with fakey stuff, or we think that we need to slap a superhero costume on ourselves, we are not thinking straight. We need to look into our heart and run toward those desires and do it in a way that our brands come alive, because you have to do it in the right way, because your brand needs 4 things or you're going to fall flat. You're going to fall flat.
Right.
And most brands fall flat. So, but you've got to start with your heart. You've got to start with your heart if you want the most fulfilling life. That's probably the most important thing you'll hear here today, and you started it, and I'll just pick it back up. When you want to have the most fulfilling life, you start with your heart and you do branding right.
So it's like what you're saying is that the foundational aspect of any business is your heart. If your heart is in the business, then you're definite to succeed. And then branding helps align that messaging towards your business and bringing it out for your audiences. Is that right?
It aligns it towards you, towards the impacts that you, and the process aligns the impacts, aligns everything you say and do, your messaging, your positioning, even the names of your products and services or programs or, books or podcasts with the impacts. And everything is congruent and aligned. That's remarkable. And, you talk when you describe your podcast about people have self-doubt and look, when you get the clarity baked into the branding done right, there is no self-doubt.
Right.
There's complete confidence, and you are who you are, and everything you're doing is accessing your authenticity. Right. So that's, for those self-doubt people, you can just forget about the self-doubt thing. I mean, seriously. I don't mean to deal with that lightly. I realize it's a killer. It's a stopper. It holds people up, but it doesn't need to.
Right. Right. So you talk about impact-driven branding, and it is kind of different from traditional marketing, traditional branding, right? You and I are talking about authentic storytelling, authentic branding, which comes from the heart. So what are the other 3 aspects of your way of teaching branding or teaching in your area?
I'm not sure I heard what are the other three
Three.
aspects?
So we discussed the foundational aspect being the heart of the
Hmm.
person in the business. What are the three other aspects that are really the foundational things that you should start with?
Well, a brand needs four things to come alive, and the
Hmm.
first is congruence with your heart.
Right.
You're going to fall flat if people smell that it's disingenuous,
Hmm.
or that you're not really you, or
Hmm.
they're wondering who you really are. They're just it won't work well for them, and it won't work well for you, and you'll feel in conflict.
Hmm.
So you've got to be congruent with your heart, and everything the brand says and does gets to be congruent with that, and that process bakes that in. It just, because it starts with the impacts and everything,
Hmm.
the characteristics you get known for, that we write down and elicit what characteristics you must become and get credit for to make those impacts, what categories of expertise you must be known for and to make those impacts, and in what order, so that there's a strategic roadmap. It's all impact driven. It
Right.
starts with those impacts you clearly see making and really want to make. So the other three things that you must have uh, are consistency
Hmm.
across the board.
Right.
Inconsistency is the most common brand killer, and it's the reason people fall flat. They either say things in generic ways so they don't come alive and create interest and intrigue, or they say it one way and then they say it another way, and people are confused or misinformed and they just back off. So consistency, but that's across the board. That's what you say. It's how you say it. It's how you're introduced. It's the testimonials that people, say about you. It's every first impression, let's call it entry portal, the doorway that people go through to see your brand for the first time, a business card, that the homepage above the fold on your website, the way you're introduced when you speak, like all of those things get to be aligned and consistent. The way you show up. If you show up looking one way one day and another way another day, it's like people don't know what to expect. And, like if you hire a person, they do the work differently every day. You can't trust them because you don't know what to expect. Brands are that way. So consistency across the board is number two. Number three is probably the most challenging for most people because they think it's tricky, and it needs to be tricky. And it's unique language
Hmm.
that transfers energy.
Okay.
You can't just have unique language.
Hmm.
You know, it has to transfer energy, and transfer energy means people want to know more. People are intrigued by it. They've never heard those words together like that before. The man speaking at the Manager Health Conference is an expert at mindful longevity, experiencing a younger brain as you age. Oh my God, who is that? I need that. Well, you never heard those words. It's creating unique language that comes out of the work of the steps that the brand uses to stand apart and get credit for expertise and create an intangible brand promise. Experiencing a younger brain as you age. I want a younger brain. You know what I mean? It's like, or body intelligent yoga. Oh my God, I've done yoga for years. What is that? I want that. It's like to create intangible brand promises that are consistent with the brand, but that attract and transfer energy. If you don't have unique language, you won't stand apart. If you don't transfer energy with that language, you miss the opportunity to be a magnet. The fourth thing is positive ongoing recognizability. That's
Hmm.
all of those visual things. It's not just your brand colors and what many people think of as their brand, their logo, and it's not just all of that stuff. It's your voice. Your
Right.
voice is an audio brand.
Hmm.
It's how you show up.
Hmm.
It's your posture on Zoom. I mean, it's everything.
Yeah.
It's positive ongoing recognizability. Okay, it's not, so Denise and I've been married for 49 years and 54 Valentine's Days. And we happened to sit down last night and have dinner when we turned on a Dodgers game. We live in Los Angeles. So we're watching and these commercials come on and they're stupid. And they play over and over because that's what advertising does. But when your target audience responds, oh, there's that stupid, brand again. That's not positive ongoing recognizability. Okay.
Yeah.
That's like somebody's trying to be tricky or cute, or they just think if they say it 1,000 times, you'll love them.
Exactly.
It
Yeah.
doesn't work that way.
So those are beautiful words and perfect messaging in terms of branding, and we'll take them one by one, if for whatever time allows us. First of all, we have already had a little bit of discussion on heart congruency, but about the aspect of transferring energy. This is something which is not talked about in a lot of branding practical conversations, right? So, in terms of having that kind of a energy transfer, what would you like to say about that? The energy transfer.
Yeah, it's vital. Look, I don't. If you've lived a while and not under a rock, and you've done any kind of self-development stuff, you've heard the phrase, "Everything is energy."
Hmm.
Okay, unfortunately, when you use something like everything or always and everything, it doesn't mean anything. But we're all made of energy.
Hmm.
The desk I'm sitting at is made of, everything is energy. Everything is when we use that energy on our behalf,
Hmm.
it's attractive. It's attractive. It's magnetic. And energy can be, let's give me a good example. Energy can be the way you pace what you say. And I did that on purpose. Martin Luther King did not say, hey, I had a dream the other night and, I had this. He said, it's almost 4 theater beats. I had a dream and it echoed 1001, 1002. The way you pace, the way you speak is huge if you let things land. That's mastering energy. The words that a brand uses
Hmm.
can create an attraction because of intrigue,
Hmm.
because of uniqueness.
Right.
Um, you started this interview by saying you've been you've been accused of putting rocket fuel in people's branding gas tanks. Let's just use that simple. People aren't walking around saying that about me, but I have been told that. So let's just say you and I met somewhere, and you said, "So you're a branding consultant. What do you do?"
Hmm.
And I said to you, if I said to you, well, I've used unique language here. I'm going to say, I manage the 31 contiguous steps of the branding continuum. First of all, you'd be asleep. You'd be thinking about something else. It wouldn't land because it sounds crazy. Okay.
Hmm.
But if I said to you, well, people say, like we do a lot of things, but people say we put rocket fuel in the branding gas tank. Words have energy. And people say we put rocket fuel in their branding gas tank has a lot more energy than the 31 contiguous whatever I said. It's like,
Correct.
and
It
so
creates
how
images.
you,
It creates images in my head right away, and I'm able to say, "Wow, I want this. I want to work with this guy." Right?
oh, and here's one for you if you're listening. Take this and do your best with it.
Hmm.
When you're talking to someone you really, that you clearly see impacting through what your work or your product or your service or, your specialty. And you tell them you've been listening to them and you understand what they've been saying and you've heard them. And then you say, here's what I see for you. Those words open up a door. And the words after that paint a picture.
Right.
that tell your target audience that you clearly see a future for them that they might not even see. And those words are either magnetic to them, they attract them to you, or you fall flat.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's that moment of clarity. Here's what I see for you
Mm-hmm.
is one of the most powerful opportunities you'll ever have. You must be prepared for that moment. You must have chosen the words in advance. You must have created the picture and know what the picture is that you see for them because you're who you are. And when you say it with gravitas, with weight, even matter of factly, from a place of knowingness, they feel it. And that is a transfer of energy that will serve your brand beautifully for a long time.
Right.
And it's one of those moments where it's almost like they feel they're already connected with you.
Mm-hmm.
This is serious, and this happens every day, or it doesn't. And inconsistency just messes it up. A lot of things mess it up. Marketing first. We'll just get some leads. It messes it up. It tends to create inconsistency. You don't get credit for what you're really outstanding at, and those things are hugely important. And they are the outcome of branding done right, the outcome of the steps of making sure things are in place.
Right.
You know,
So, in terms of branding done right, now there are some common mistakes that entrepreneurs are making, especially the ones who are starting up businesses. How are those mistakes impacting them? I mean, obviously, we know the outcomes that they are facing, but what are these common mistakes that possibly you can help them identify in the beginning so that they can?
I do a 60-minute masterclass every month called An Hour of Brand Power. And I do the four things we go into detail about the four things you must have to come alive or you will fall flat. And 7 things that brands commonly do that they need to stop because they're hurting themselves. So I'll just reel them off, but we don't have time here to go into the detail. Inconsistency, the way you say what you do. If you say it one way and say it another way, you're stepping on your own tail. It's
So,
okay, stop it. Okay, number one. Okay, so consistently, the way you say what you do, the way you say what you're expert at. You got 3 opportunities there. 1 is unique language. 2, it transfers energy. And 3, it makes you stand apart for something you're really good at. And there's no one like you. Like, wow. Okay.
mhm,
But if you don't do that, you miss this huge opportunity. Running for leads before you define and language your brand. Well, we just get the leads. We'll do the branding later. Such a critical mistake. Let's go back to that statement. Your marketing, when it's at its best,
mhm,
will be the execution of an excellent branding strategy. So there shouldn't be any marketing until your brand has done the work and it's ready to open its mouth
right.
so that everything it says and does aligns with the impacts it clearly sees making and really wants to make. It's a runway then. It's like, wow,
Mhm,
the way people respond. Okay, so hiring third-party marketers and not giving, like, oh, I'm not really a marketer, so we're going to have the others be, they know what to do, they know the words, they know the magic, blah, 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 and not giving them brand guidelines. This is the way we say it. We use this language. This is the unique, no guidelines. Anything can happen and boom, you're back to inconsistency and confusion. Maybe. And you think you've done right because you got some leads, but really you went the other way. And it's difficult to make up for that sometimes, particularly if you cross the credibility line. If what you do feels like you're being disingenuous or making something up, like people, you say, well, research shows, but they don't know what that even means. They don't realize that, like I told you, I work for a research company. So the word validity in the world of research is the most important word. If you didn't use a methodology to do that research that is solid and statistically significant, or is, or you don't even know enough to say, we talked to 3 people. And so it kind of indicates you think that that's research, and you misrepresent. misrepresenting research is a big, big dumb no-no. I think the biggest one today is using the results of AI
Hmm.
without customizing them to make sure it speaks uniquely like your brand. You see, using AI is a blessing. We all are learning that, but using exactly what comes out of it, don't you think other people are doing that too? It just makes it, if you don't make it yours with your unique language that transfers energy, you've made a mistake.
Right.
You know, it's not a mistake to use AI. It's a mistake to use it without customizing the results so that it's uniquely you. And look, if you're on a low budget and you're just using some, unpaid version, do not put your unique language into it because now everybody has it and it's no longer your unique language. That's just not smart. Okay. So these are common. It's unbelievably common. They could be done by a junior person who doesn't own the business, or they could be done by the entrepreneur, the owner of the business himself. But just stop it, stop it.
Right. In terms of a very important thing that you have just pointed out, AI, the impact of AI,
Hmm.
which is being felt in every business now, in a good way or a bad way. So, what do you think? How is it impacting personal branding and authentic storytelling now?
I think it speeds up processes that used to take a long, long time,
Hmm.
and it behooves us all to get to possibilities for our marketing communications faster. If we can have things in front of us in 10 seconds, it's like unbelievable. Uh, and then we can shape it from there.
Uh-huh.
We just saved hours or maybe days or weeks. No, I mean, I would look, we help publish books, and a book is a stake in the ground that moves your brand forward. It's got to be part of a strategic roadmap. The name of it, the titles and subtitles of the chapters, all of these things are opportunities to use language that transfers energy and to come alive in a unique way. And people, when you hear somebody say, you can write a best-selling book in a weekend, run the other direction because that is the quintessential example of anything's okay. And if you want a unique brand that comes alive and attracts your target audiences that you most want to impact, because that's your brand is the perception in their mind. That's your brand. It's the perception in the mind of your target audiences that you really most want to impact. That's the perception that all your branding is shaping. It's not the perception of everybody or the people 25,000 miles away that love to pet giraffes. It's your target audiences that you most care about impacting their lives or their businesses. So you focus on that, and yeah, these are important things that people
Right. So,
should hear.
in terms of your business, your aspect of your business, which is about publishing and helping people publish their books,
Yeah.
can you take us through a story of someone whose brand transformed when they aligned with a deeper purpose and they published a book with you or with your support?
I just yesterday I received, and this is a little too fresh, and I can't name names, but I can. Yesterday we had a marvelous coming together. One of my clients, we'll call him Frank, created a book. His first book, we published his first book 4 years ago, I believe, and he finished his second book. It's a stake in the ground. There are three books on his strategy roadmap. First was a book about mistakes I've made. Don't do these things. And it's more a life guide book than it had to do with what he does for a living, which happens to be financial services of a specific type. And he is after a specific type of couple that are his people. And so that book has been out and it's been very helpful. This second book has a marvelous title. It's called The Power to Live Your Life, 7 Things to Not Interrupt.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been picked up by a major publishing house who we work with in New York with global reach.
Mm-hmm.
And we hoped to have a foreword written by someone of note. And yesterday we received the foreword from the person we hoped would write it, and it was glowing. This book should be read by everyone who wants to live their most fulfilling life. It's like, and this fellow doesn't exaggerate. He is a global media reshaper. He's just so global. And the client's ability to speak and touch people's hearts because of the book will be multiplied by that forward by that individual
Mm-hmm.
being promoted, along with the book being promoted when it comes out.
Mm-hmm.
It'll help it get noticed for awards. It'll help it and the book is not about what he does for a living. One of the things that it says, 7 things to not interrupt, one of them is financial. And so it's one of those things that most people really just make mistakes, assume somebody else will take care of it. And the book points out that's a slippery slope, and it doesn't turn out well. And the blind spot that people use that they don't even see as a blind spot. His ability to reach his target audience will multiply because he can speak about the book
Mm-hmm.
and the 7 things. He can talk about your mental, fitness and your physical fitness. He's lost 80 pounds 3 times and it's off for good now. So he speaks from his own personal experiences. Even in the book, we have a QR codes where it says, "Hey, here's something I want to tell you in person from my heart." And they'll say, "You read about this in chapter 6, but here's what I want you to hear from my heart." So they're reading his book, but now they get to know him. That book will propel him to make bigger impacts, touch more lives. It'll be translated into languages around the world because it's about human beings and the things they do mindlessly that interrupt things that are really, really important. I mean, relationships that work, your integrity. It's a lot. It goes on, and he's a financial advisor. Okay. But it's part of a brand strategy plan to get to his 3rd book, which is about his faith.
Hmm.
And that's the brand's end goal, is to lift up doing
Right.
business with a servant's heart and to help people step into their purpose, step into their calling, and make sure they're connected with their creator in the right way.
Beautiful.
So he's after his umbrella brand. I mean, his business brand is a business, and he does certain things for his business, and he's really good at them. But his umbrella brand, his highest level impact, is helping people blueprint their lives in a different way, reconnect with their creator. So the brand that we defined for him is the umbrella brand. His business brand will thrive because of it. But the question I'm going to ask you, you're listening, is what's your umbrella? What's your highest level impacts that we've all been given gifts and skills and unlimited power. What's the highest level impact for what you do that stands for everything you are? It might not be what you do for a living. It might not be your business. There's a higher level. What's the umbrella?
Hmm.
That's the thinking that happens during impact-driven branding. It is about business. It's about, let's make it bake clarity into it so that it comes alive, and people whom you really want to impact are attracted faster. You get the right fit clients. It's all that. But there's more. And if you're listening to this, There are times in your life you think, look, I'm not done. There is more. I know there's more. I just don't. What a blessing that branding done right literally helps to answer the question, what's the umbrella?
Right.
How do I get credit and run toward my highest level impacts
Mm-hmm.
in my fulfilling life?
Beautiful. So, Rich, now I just, as I'm thinking while you're speaking on these lines, what if someone is, feeling overwhelmed by branding, like they're not ready, they want to step into book business, they want to write their own book, they want to have their business
Mhm.
taken to that next level, but branding is somewhere that they're stuck in. So what is that small step that perhaps they should take to calm themselves up and take that powerful step, like the first step for.
Neeti, that's such a great question because you've described many, many people. And I'll answer your question after I say why. Chances are one of the reasons that people who are intimidated by branding or like it stops them instead of, propelling them, is because the world doesn't know what branding is, and they hear the word usually from marketing service sellers who want to sell you whatever their marketing services are. And I don't know, anything that's executional, from, do a book in a weekend to use this, email program, to like all that stuff is executional. It's all the pieces of like, how do we reach our target? That's all marketing. And so those marketing services people, they use that word all the time. Oh, this will be good for your branding, 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 branding. Oh, what is good branding? And they don't have a really clear idea of branding. So it's kind of overwhelming. It's like, well, I think I need a guru, which is sets them up to pay a bunch of money for somebody that wants them to think that they need a guru when you don't need a guru.
Mhm.
So here's where you start. Okay. Close your eyes, first of all. Close your eyes and ask yourself, what does it look like when what I want to do, and I clearly see doing it and I really want, what does it look like when it's thriving? When everything I'm doing is working? What am I doing? Am I writing a book? Am I speaking? Am I coaching one-on-one? Am I speaking to large groups of people? Am I writing things that move people's, heart? Am I sharing with people my skill so that my skill is now used by lots of people? Like, what am I doing when my brand is thriving? Thriving, meaning you're thriving financially. Everything is working. You publish a book and people say it changed my life. You schedule a weekend retreat. It's really well attended. And people say, oh my gosh, and they invite other people to it. Everything you're doing is working. You have your eyes closed and you picture what that looks like.
Hmm.
That's the first thing. Because it starts with the impacts, what impacts are you making on people and what does it look like? And how are you doing that? And then ask your heart, give me one. And your heart, ask your heart, give me a person, a type of a person. Maybe it's a couple, okay, but it's a type of person. Eventually it might be a type of business, but it starts with a person. Give me a person that I clearly see impacting and I really want to impact, and describe what makes them them. She's of this age, she's had this experience, she still feels responsible for her children. Just describe what makes that person the person your heart gave you.
Beautiful.
And then describe the very first impact you'll make on her. Oh, you describe the person before they meet the brand, before they meet you.
Right, right, right.
And then what's the very first impact? Will she reframe how she sees herself? Will she, because impacts come in levels. So often it starts in the head. She sees the world different. She finally understands. She awakens to just describe each level of impact and go as high as you can imagine. She may become a world changer based on the work that she did with you. When you do that and then say to give me another one, you don't need a bunch. You could do it. I have one client who has one, and she has a huge, huge idea client. She puts big, big, big ideas in the world in a marvelous way. She only has one client. So I used to have four. I combined one so I have three. That's it. There's no rule. It's just that if there's if you see working with a young person, and you also see working with people that, have decades more, those people think differently. They have different careabouts in their head. The things they say to themselves with pretty frequency are different. So they're different target audiences. So you describe them separately. But
Right.
do not ask your head, okay? Because your head, your head makes lists, and it'll say like, you can help a rodeo clown. Hey, you can help the mailman. Yeah, don't ask your head, okay? Ask your heart.
Mm-hmm.
Heart, whom do I? Give me one. Now give me another one. Whom do I clearly see impacting and I really want to impact? Doing that puts you and the brand you will become on a solid track to build a foundation of clarity into why your brand is your brand. And by going through these steps, and when my book comes out, Impact Driven Branding, 7 Steps to Ensure Your Brand Impacts People's Lives in the World, you'll have the process and the little sheets. You can just sit there and do it yourself, and it will bake clarity into the way your brand shows up.
That's
And the clarity will no longer be missing, and people will feel it. Even a person that you didn't write down will feel the clarity and be attracted. So you'll attract a lot more than the 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 that you wrote down. But it is the asking your heart that makes it completely you.
that's uh that's amazing. It's actually a promise fulfilled, because you promised that in the beginning of the podcast that this is going to be something which your listeners would not have listened to in the
Nobody
beginning.
tells you this stuff, okay? And no, I mean, and yeah. So
And
yeah, that's why you and I like each other so much. We both understand this,
right.
but the world doesn't teach it.
No.
And where do you even get the window of awareness? Well, thank goodness you're getting it from Neeti's podcast right now, and what a blessing.
Thank you so much. But Rich, I mean, what you and I have just spoken about, the example that you just gave, we have read the theoretical aspects of it. Now that YouTube is so prominent, people are seeing the videos on it. You should target your audience. You should focus on your personal brand. You should focus on your personal story. Be authentic. But the way you described it, keeping into the view of heart congruence and
Hmm.
actually bringing in that perspective, I think that is what has made it absolutely clear, I'm pretty sure, for my viewers as well, because now they understand how to literally go in and find that person, that target person who's going to be replicated and seen in so many audiences, right?
Yeah, yeah. You make a great point that the noise that's out there that says everything from, you need a brand, and it puts you in your head like, oh my God, yeah, okay. You need a better brand. Oh, you need the last thing we need is another book about branding. My book is steps of what to do. It's not about branding. There's no like, well, Microsoft and no. Okay, it's not that. It is steps. Okay, so we don't need another brand with a branding with a name. Okay, so if somebody says to you, hey, you need a brand or you should, here's what you say. Thanks for sharing. Okay, hey, you can write a #1 book in a weekend. Really? Thanks for sharing. It's not strategic. It's not thoughtful. There's
Uh-huh.
no roadmap. There's no roadmap to your purpose. It's like, literally had a woman call me that says my girlfriend told me to call you. I've been texting some scripture once a week. I text one scripture to the, and everybody's for 3 years. And I was told like, wow, you should write a book. And I know a guy. That was the referral.
Yeah.
Okay. This woman was a HR person in a school district. She was retired, and she called me and she talked to me. She's not made of marketing. She doesn't study marketing. Branding is the furthest thing from her thought process. And she says, a book. And I said, look, you have two choices. I've got a book. And that's as snarky as I can make it. That's the book in a weekend, people.
Mm-hmm.
I have a book. Yeah, who gives a crap? Like, everybody has a book. Like, does it matter? Why does it matter? Well, if you need to peel that onion, okay? So, two options. I've got a book. Or your book is a stake, stake, in the ground that moves your brand forward in a strategic direction that you must go to achieve what you see as possible. It's a strategic stake in the ground. That means it's title and subtitle. It's titles and subtitles of content. The sub-chunk titles it can be written before the book's even written, and people will look at that and they'll go, oh my God, that looks like a great book. That's what we do here. I'm just saying, I'm in the middle of 4 of them right now. It's like, okay, so now out with her first book, and we created 10 covers because in this little tiny pocket books, and we created a name for her umbrella brand. Her purpose is God told her there are people that she needed to touch, whose life she needed to touch. And her purpose is to encourage people to get back into reading the word for their daily, for their daily life,
Right.
because she knows how powerful it is. And her series is called Just a Pinch of Salt to Flavor Your Life and Your Faith. That's the name of the series of books. And it goes in the Christian aisle, but it has food on the cover because it's just a pinch of salt. It looks like a cookbook in the Christian aisle. It's a really cool idea. And this woman's last name, unbelievable, is Love, Marilyn Love.
Uh-huh.
And it transformed her ability to think into the future.
Right.
And hers is, it's a divine purpose.
Right.
Hey, imagine if we all had that. You heard my story that I'm in a choir loft after several, I said I'm not branding anymore. And then people asked me to help them. And I'm singing in the choir, church choir. I must be listening to a message or something. But I get this download, like what I'm doing is helping people pull the desires for impact from their own heart.
Mm-hmm.
Who put those desires there? Well, I believe God did. We're all made for a reason. And one of the ways we get to our purpose is by following that desire to make impact. So the download was, it's not your work, Rich. This is God's work. That's when I realized that my whole journey has prepared me to do what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
What a blessed place to be. I get to do this. I want you to feel that way in what you do. If you're listening to this, I want you to have that feeling that I get to do this. This is not, it feels more like love than work. Wow.
You know what, Rich? It's you and I are so much on the same page that it's almost I'm having goosebumps. I just like to tell you a little bit about what was my background like. So mine was HR transition, worked with global companies, transitioned into my own content marketing business, and then I got into writing a book. I got this epiphany that I should write a book. It's called Live Your Dreams, Be You.
Oh, I love it.
And the book became apparently a bestseller in India for 3 years, which was huge for me, being a very new author. And then the journey kind of took on from there. I never looked back. I got into podcasting. I don't know how. And it just, the YouTube channel followed and things like that. It's like I'm still on this journey, still figuring it out, but it's just beautiful.
I believe your voice is part of your brand.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know if you've used it that way, but here you have a podcast, so you certainly have the foundation for it. And wow, I love that. How appropriate.
So yeah, so that's just
Wow.
beautiful in terms of how branding just comes into the
Mm.
picture on its own when we are in the flow of God's work.
You know, you mentioned the word content. May I speak to that word because that bothers people. It's
Uh-huh.
one of those. It's one of those common questions. Hey, what content do you think our audiences, would like? And again, if you just listen to the noise, it's like any content will do. Oh, content used to be content is king, and then
Uh-huh.
it's like content's not king, context is king. Look, I've been doing this for 49 years, so I've been living through all the stuff, and so it's like, oh yeah, here we go again. Let's talk about content. I want you to imagine a spreadsheet. I
Mm-hmm.
know that's like, oh God, that's really boring, but okay. And across the top, there are 3 columns, okay? And each of those has a category of expertise that's been crafted to be unique language that transfers energy.
Mm-hmm.
That is a category of expertise of you. The first one's probably what you do now and what you're really good at, and you get credit for that. And the second is a bridge category that allows you to broaden your reach. And the third is your brand destination strategically. And okay, and the rest of the spreadsheet are titles, and just picture this, titles and subtitles of content that are written in the language of the brand that's been developed up to that point. And
Mm-hmm.
the purpose of the content title and subtitle is to pull someone into the content so the brand gets credit for what's at the top of the column. Imagine you had that, and there's 10 to 15 titles and subtitles of content that on each of the columns that get you credit for one of those categories of expertise. And you could use that for the next 5 to 10 years. And every one of those titles and subtitles of content is absolutely congruent with the brand, and it has a hook. Do this first. Here's how. Read this story. It has a hook to get people into the content, and everyone has and it's been crafted and fun, and it works, and it's all congruent. People don't think about. They think like content is a one-off. Oh, I got a new
Oh.
dog. I'm going to write a pod, I'm going to blog about my dog. It's like, I've seen it all. Okay. I've seen it with big companies. I see it with solopreneurs. It's human things. And there are really good ways to make sure that everything your brand says and does moving forward is aligned with the most important impacts that you really want to make. So why not?
Wow. So this has been an amazing, soulful conversation with you, Rich.
Content.
Really enjoyed from strategic PR positioning to actually brand aligned messaging to
Yeah.
actually understanding God's work through personal branding. So, so it's been beautiful. Thank you so much, Rich. Really, really enjoyed this conversation with you.
This was a special opportunity, and I hope that once the publisher publishes the book, okay, that maybe we'll have another conversation.
Absolutely.
Thank you
Absolutely.
so much, Preeti. You're amazing.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
And I'm sorry I called you Preeti. It's Neeti. Sorry,
Neeti.
Neeti. Bless your heart. And I'm sorry, Neeti. This has been a special opportunity for 2 like-minded people from 2 similar but very different backgrounds to connect on something that is really, really important to every individual who's listening to this. So
Yeah.
I'm glad you listened and paid attention. There's a lot here for you.
Yes. And they can reach you on the emails that you are going to provide us right after the podcast. So they'll be able to reach you, right? So thank you so
Right,
much.
and we do free master classes every month
Hmm.
that you can just hop on. You have to register for them, but they're 60
Sure.
minutes, and they'll start to set you straight. And then we have a series of things that you can attend, so that when you're ready, you can just move quickly. Absolutely.
Right, right. So thank you, Rich. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you, Neeti.